Anybody ever heard of the Winchester house or the Winchester mansion before? If you don't know, Sarah Winchester was the heiress to the Winchester family fortune. The Winchester family invented the Winchester repeating rifle, and as a result, it was used through various military conflicts, and it was revolutionary in the firearm industry. And as a result, many people died from what her family produced. And so she was a very superstitious woman, and she was married, and she had a young daughter, and her husband and her daughter died prematurely. And when they died prematurely, because she was superstitious, she decided that she was going to consult a medium. So she went to a medium to ask why her family, why her husband and her daughter died so young. And the medium told her, it's because of what your family created. Your family created the repeating rifle. And because of that, thousands of people have died on the opposite end of the firearm that your family created. And so what caused your family to die, what caused your husband and your daughter to die was the spirits of the people that were killed by the gun that your family produced. She said, because of this, these spirits are angry and they've taken the life of your husband and your daughter, and if you don't do something for them, they're going to take your life as well. Sarah Winchester was terrified. She said, what do I do to avert this calamity? What do I do to stop them from taking my life? And the medium said, you have to build them a house. You have to build around the clock 24/7, and you can never stop construction, because if you stop construction, you will die. And so Sarah became terrified, and she gave in to what the medium said. This is a true story, by the way. And so she set out and used her family's fortune to begin building this monstrosity of a house. And you can go to California and tour it to this day. But 24/7, she hired carpenters and construction workers to work around the clock to build this house. And she built this house for an express purpose. She wanted to confuse the spirits and appease the spirits. And so she built this house, and if you tour it today, you will find hallways that go to a dead end. You will find stairways that lead nowhere. You will find doors that open up to drops and nothing beneath them. You will find rooms that you walk into that are dead ends. You will find spaces that make no sense. You will find a labyrinth in the house where people can get lost in. And she did this to confuse the spirits in the home, and she also continued building because she was afraid that if she ever stopped, that the spirits would come for her. So she built for nearly 40 years, 24/7 around the clock, at a cost of what is the equivalent of $71 million in today's money, and built a 24,000 square foot house to appease spirits and to avoid herself coming to the same end that her husband and her daughter came to. But the reality is that we are all going to die one day. And no matter how much you build or how much you try to appease some eternal supernatural force, your time will come. And in 1922, Sarah Winchester passed away. And when she passed away, she left her wealth to her niece. And when her niece passed away, it went to a group of charities. And the reality is that Sarah spent her entire life building a house to appease spirits that did not exist, based off of a word that she got from somebody who was not hearing from God. And she built a home and built rooms continuously, trying to appease spirits instead of living a life of meaning, living a life of purpose. And the reality is, we can learn from her story because we are all building something in our life. Do you realize that every day of your life, you are building something with your life? Every decision that you make, you are building something with your life. We're all building. Are you building something that matters? Are you building something that matters? You know, Proverbs, our key text for this sermon series, Proverbs chapter 13, verses 22, it says, a good person, somebody say a good person, leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. You see, that's what happened to Sarah Winchester. When she passed away, eventually all of her wealth went to charities. Eventually all of her wealth went to these nonprofit organizations, and her family spent their life amassing this wealth and building homes and building empires, but at the end of the day, all of it went to the righteous. And she wasted 40 years of her life building a home that when people go now, the only legacy she left behind is a legacy of insanity. And when people go and tour that home, and they wonder what was going on in her head to cause her to build this home that does not matter. The reality is we are all building something. The question is, are you building something that matters? Because all of us, every man, woman, and child in this room, you were built to build. Do you realize that today? You were built to build. God created you for more. God created you for more. The first thing that we learn about God is that God is a creator. In Genesis chapter 1, it says, in the beginning, God created. God created the heavens and the earth. God created you and I. And then the first command that God gives to humanity is for us to be fruitful and multiply. So what God is saying is, I don't want you to live a life for just yourself. I want you to go beyond yourself. I want you to build beyond you. I want you to multiply. Whatever I've brought to your life, I want you to pass it down to the next generation. I want you to live in a way where you're thinking beyond just today. You're thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about future generations. You were designed to build beyond you. And you have two options when you go to build. You can build in faith or you can build in fear. And Sarah Winchester chose to live a life where everything that she built in fear. And I believe there's many people sitting in this room this morning, and you are building things in your life out of fear. You're making decisions with your children that are predicated on your fear for them. You're making decisions in your career that's predicated on your fear for the future. You're making decisions in how you live for God based off of what other people say about you. I talked to a woman in first service, and she said, you know what, Pastor? I haven't been coming to church for a while because some of my friends have been telling me you shouldn't go to church, you should stop going, and so I've been avoiding going. Can I tell you that people around you are going to try to get you to build things in fear? And you don't need to build in fear, because when you build in fear, you build rooms that go nowhere. You build stairways that go to nothing. You build hallways that end in a dead end. But when you build in faith, church, you build something that lasts, because you were built to build. Somebody say, I'm built to build. And I want to contrast the story of Sarah Winchester, a woman who spent her life building rooms that had no purpose, with a woman in the Bible who built a room that mattered. If you have your Bibles, if you could open up to 2 Kings chapter 4. We want to learn about a woman in the Bible that is called the Shunammite woman. She doesn't even have a name in Scripture. She's referred to as the woman from the town that she lived in. The Shunammite woman lived in the time of the prophet Elisha, and she heard about the prophet Elisha. And we pick up her story in 2 Kings chapter 4 in verse 8, and it says, one day Elisha the prophet went to the town of Shunem. Somebody say, God bless you. A wealthy woman lived there, and she urged him to come to her home for a meal. After that, whenever he passed that way, he would stop there for something to eat. And then she said to her husband one day, I am sure that this man who stops here from time to time is a holy man of God. Let's build a small room for him on the roof and furnish it with a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp, and then he will have a place to stay whenever he comes by. One day Elijah returned to Shunem, and he went up to this upper room to rest, and he said to his servant Gehazi, tell the woman from Shunem that I want to speak to her. And when she appeared, Elijah said to Gehazi, tell her we appreciate the kind concern that you have showed us. I find it so hilarious. This has nothing to do with my sermon, but I find it hilarious that he asks his servant to get her. He comes up, and she's standing in his room, and he's talking to his servant, telling the servant to tell her, and she's standing right there. This is funny. This is funny to me. Elijah has no people skills. He's so introverted, he's speaking through an interpreter to talk to this lady. He said, we appreciate the kind concern you've shown us. So what can we do for you? Can we put in a good word for you to the king or the commander of the army? No, she replied, my family takes good care of me. I just want to stop right there, because this is a woman who was not doing things for the man of God in an interest to get something out of it, because he's offering her something, and she's like, I don't actually need anything. My family takes good care of me. I'm not doing this so that you can bless me. I'm doing this just to be a blessing, because all of my needs are met. Can I encourage you that we are better able to see the needs that we're able to meet for other people when we're not so focused on ourselves? So many of us are unable to meet needs because the only needs that we're aware of are the needs that we have. This woman was so aware of the needs of other people because she was so satisfied in where she was in life. And can I tell you, gratitude goes a long way in our life. If we can just be thankful that I'm in a place where my needs are met, where I have a roof over my head, where I have stuff that if I thought about it, I could complain, but I'm not going to complain about it because I am blessed. I have a family that loves me. I got a roof over my head. I got food in my belly. I got breath in my lungs. I got my health about me. I got so many things that I can be thankful for. And so I'm just going to be grateful. When I'm not even aware of what I need, I'm in a good place in life. Can I get an amen in this church? I believe that many people, we see depression skyrocketing, we see all these mental health problems shooting through the roof. I believe that one of the reasons behind that, there's a lot of reasons, one of the reasons behind it is because we live in a time and a culture where we are obsessed with our lack. We're obsessed with what we don't have, we're obsessed with what we could have, we're obsessed with what they have, and we are not thankful for what we have and the blessings we have. We just came out of Thanksgiving. How many of you guys, it feels good to sit around a table and focus on the things that you're thankful for? It feels good to sit around a table and talk about all the good things you have in your life and put aside all the differences of opinions and put aside all the things you wish you had and just say, God, thank you for the blessings that are sitting around this table with me. Thank you for the food that's sitting on this table. God, thank you for your provisions. I don't even know what I need because I'm so blessed. Has nothing to do with my message. I'm just going to keep going on. That was a free sermon for you guys. Free sermon. I'll preach that one later. She tells Elijah, I don't need anything. My family takes care of me. All of my needs are provided for. I just want to be a blessing to you. This troubled Elijah. In verse 14, it says, later Elijah asked Gehazi, what can we do for her? What can we do for her? I'm trying to figure out how to bless her back, and I don't know how to bless her back because she doesn't even know what she needs to be blessed. Can I tell you, I want to live a life in such a way, I want to be so generous that other people got to hunt down ways to bless me, that other people have to excavate reasons and opportunities to reciprocate the blessings that I've given to them. I want people to be so determined to pay me back because of how kind I've been to them. Can I tell you, that's a good position to be in life where other people are like, I gotta find a way to pay you back. I gotta find a way to be good to you because you've been so good to me. You don't have to tell me, but I'm gonna hunt it down. I'm gonna suss it out. I'm gonna ask people. I'm gonna stalk you a little bit, and I'm gonna figure out how I can bless you back because you've been such a blessing to me. Right. Gehazi replied, she doesn't have a son, and her husband is an old man. Verse 15, call her back, Elijah says. When the woman returned, Elijah said to her as she stood in the door, now he's talking to her directly. He says, next year at this time, you will be holding a son in your arms. No, my Lord, she cried, oh man of God, don't deceive me and get my hopes up like that. But sure enough, the woman soon became pregnant. And at the time, the following year, she had a son, just as Elijah had said. This story is an obscure story in the Bible, but when people do preach about it, a lot of times we preach about it in terms of the blessing that she gets with her son. A lot of times people use it when people are struggling with fertility in their relationships or in their marriage or what have you. Like, this is where the story comes out. Can I tell you that the most fascinating part of this story is the fact that this woman practiced generosity without any hope of reciprocity. She made a decision, I'm going to provide for the man of God. She saw a work of God and she wanted to build beyond herself. She was not passive in the things of God, but active. And many of us, we live our lives in passive observation instead of active participation. We see a move of God, and we're like, wow, it's amazing what God's doing over there. Wow, it's great that God is showing up in this space. Man, it's good that God is saving people. It's good that these things are happening. These things are awesome. But how many of us live our lives instead of passive observation, we step into active participation? No, I see God moving and I want to be a part of it. No, I see God doing something over here and I want to contribute to it. I want to put seed in good soil. Can I tell you that generosity is when your actions speak louder than your words? And I think that a lot of times for us as Christians, we are filled with an abundance of words and a deficit of actions. And we talk about all the things that we believe in, all the things that we care about, all the things that are important to us, but we don't actually participate in the things that we claim to be important. And we wonder why our children don't serve God because they've heard us say things but not actually follow through. And this woman right here, she puts her money where her mouth is. She says, I'm going to demonstrate that I believe in a work of God by contributing to the things of God. And can I tell you, God can do amazing things when we contribute. I think about last year with our legacy offering, and the people that contributed to it were the people that you would least expect. I saw people that were struggling financially that gave. I saw people that the person that gave the most in the legacy offering last year was somebody that you would least expect. Just a person that has been coming since the opening of our church, has never served on a team anywhere, but gave sacrificially. And when I thanked them later, they said, Pastor, I only wish that I had more to give. There was a man on a fixed income, a retired man, and he gave generously last year out of his fixed income. Can I tell you that when people see a move of God, we can talk about how important it is to us, or we can actually participate in it, and we can build a room for what God's trying to do. Somebody say, build a room. There's a couple lessons that I want to learn from this woman's life. The first one is that we have to build strategically. Somebody say strategically. Look at your neighbor, say, be strategic. I have no idea why that was funny. She had him come over, see how strategic she was? She had him come over for dinner. She's checking this guy out. She's trying to figure out, like, I've heard about this man of God named Elisha, but I've never spent any time around him. How many of you guys have ever heard of a person of God, and the more you learned about them, you're like, oh, they're not who I thought that they were? Have you ever had that happen before? We're like, oh, this person looks good on YouTube on the clip. Oh, this person, this, that. I mean, but then you get to know somebody and you're like, oh, they're not awesome. I remember I used to be in a band, a Christian band when I was younger. We had the opportunity to play at a show with some very famous Christian artists, and I was blown away. The most famous person we ever did a show with was the least Christian person I've ever met in my life. She had a 15-year-old kid that was working in the merch booth, and he lost something, and she's screaming and swearing at him. He's a small child. I'm like, oh, you're not who you claim to be. Are you with me? It's important to pay attention, church. She had him over for dinner. She got to know him. She observed him. She didn't have him over for dinner once. She had him over for dinner many, many, many times. And over the course of time, she goes to her husband and she says, this man who keeps on coming over for dinner, I'm sure he's a man of God. How are you sure? Because I've been paying attention. Because I've been observing, because I've been watching, and I've been making sure that the words that come out of his mouth are the actions that come out of his body. And after observation, after passage of time, I am certain that this man is a man of God, and I want to give a greater degree to this person that I've been studying, and I want to invest. And now actually, I don't want to just feed him anymore. I want to build a room for him in this house. What this shows me about her is that she's not just generous, she's discerning. She's not just generous, she's discerning. She wants to invest in the things of God. She doesn't want to just give to things that don't have importance, that don't have significance, that don't have value. She wants to give in real, substantive ways to the things that actually matter. And I believe that for many of us, we want to be generous, but we are generous and not strategic. There was a woman that my wife worked for before who was a very altruistic woman, very philanthropic, and she would send Ashley with a company card to go to stores and pick up things for the business, and she had a rule with Ashley. She said, anytime you go to a store and they ask you if you want to round up for a cause, you always do it. Anytime. I don't care what the cause is. I don't care what they're asking. If they say, do you want to round that up? You want to give the extra 60 cents? You want to give the extra 40 cents? How many of you guys know it feels like anywhere you go, they've got those round up things going on? She's like, the answer is always yes, always yes. And I remember Ashley told me about it, and at first you're like, wow, that's really nice that anytime, it doesn't matter what it is, the answer is always round up. The answer is always yes, and that is a good thing. I don't want to diminish that. That's better than nothing, am I right? But the reality is there's nothing strategic about it. You're giving to causes and you have no idea what you're giving to. You're giving to things and you're like, did I give to this cause? Did I give to this program? Like, I have no clue. And also you're giving in a way that you cannot track the effectiveness of. Am I talking to anybody that you get where I'm coming from on this, right? Like, I have no idea, am I actually making a difference? And can I let you know, cumulatively, I'm sure, and if enough people round up, it does make a difference over time, but you specifically are not making a significant, measurable, quantifiable, discernible difference by rounding up. You really make a difference when you get strategic and say, you know what, there is a cause that is important to me, and I'm going to champion that cause, and I'm going to throw everything that I have at that agenda, and I'm going to do whatever I can to move the needle in this particular area. See, many people, we build rooms in our life that are for good things but not God things. And we're given to a whole bunch of things, and we're involved with a whole bunch of projects, and many of us were draining ourselves, and we are overextending ourselves in so many different areas, but we're doing it in a way that's not strategic. Remember, my grandparents were some of the most generous people I ever met with my life, and they gave to absolutely any cause that they could. All you had to do to get my grandparents to give was put something on TBN. Anybody have grandparents like that? I can't tell you how many commemorative plates they had. I can't tell you how many bottles of olive oil they had from Jerusalem. I can't tell you. I can't tell you how many things. And the crazy thing about my grandparents is that the more they gave to things, the more people got their phone number. They got on like lists, and then all of a sudden people calling them up like, hey, can you give, hey, can you? And I remember my grandparents were just giving. And I was asking them one time, I was like, what do you get? They're like, I don't know. People just keep calling us and asking us for money. They're like, we have no more. And then they would come to a cause that they believed in, that they wanted to give to, and they're like, I want to give more, but I don't have enough because I gave it to all these things that I don't even really know what I gave to. Can I tell you that's not strategic? You only have so much place to build. Why not use the real estate that you have and your resources to build things that are eternal, things that you're connected to? If you want to know a strategic way to give, a good place to start is whatever church God's planted you in. If you're not a member of Momentum, if you're visiting from another church, if you're in town for the holidays, whatever it might be, then wherever you go to church, that's what it looks like. But I'm a firm believer that if God planted you in a house of God, that you are called to be a person that moves the needle in that house, that you are called to be a person that says, I am putting down roots here and I want this soil to be wealthy. I want the soil to be rich. I want the soil to be fruitful. I want the soil to be bountiful. I want everybody else that comes in and puts down roots here to be able to thrive and to prosper. So I want to be strategic and say, I'm going to build the house that God planted me and my family in. Somebody say, build the room. Second one is you got to build increasingly. Somebody say increasingly. Her generosity was progressive. Did you notice that about how she gave? She started off by inviting him over for dinner. And then he had an open invitation to the buffet table in the Shunammite lady's house. There's an open invitation. She's like, call me Golden Corral. You come and take as much as you want, honey. Open up the refrigerator, grab the milk and cookies, whatever you need, whatever we have, it's yours. And then she went beyond that to building him a room in her house. That's bananas to me. You know what? Like we've had the pleasure being the pastors here. Like there are situations where people invite us over to their house for dinner. It's always a pleasure. It's always a joy. Every once in a while, we get invited back. You know what I'm saying? It is because of me. I'm too much. I wouldn't invite me back either. If it was just Ashley, she'd get invited back all the time. You know what I'm saying? But I come along. I'm like the BOGO that nobody wanted. But like we don't always get invited back a second time. You know what I mean? And I have never in the history of our church ever had somebody that's like, Pastor, come into my house anytime you want. Here's a key. Go. Don't talk about how picky of an eater I am. Don't put my business out there like that. You can't sit on the front row where I can hear you and gossip about me. Keep my name out your mouth, Agatha. I am picky. She's right. She's not even wrong. She got me dead to rights. But like, nobody gave me a key and say, come in and grab whatever you want anytime you want. But you know what has never happened? Nobody has ever built me a room on their house. Okay? That's never gonna, and to be honest, please don't. Like nobody we need to build a room for Pastor. He was talking about it. Please don't do that because I'm not gonna move into it. I like my house. You know what I'm saying? That would be a little bit weird. That's a little too far, you know? But like, she builds a room onto her house. And I find it interesting because she starts here. She starts at a level that's easy, and then she builds and builds and builds in her generosity because she decided, I'm not just going to give the bare minimum. I'm going to build progressively. The reality is for most of us that most people stall in our generosity when we reach a point of giving that is the perfect blend of comfortable and absolvable. Like we give to a point where we feel absolved of whatever guilt we have. But we don't move past that point of being absolved of whatever guilt we have or compulsion we have to a place that is no longer comfortable. We find that sweet spot, that perfect tension of I don't feel bad about myself anymore, but this isn't too difficult. And we like to hang out in that spot. And we know that if I give too little, I'm going to be like, man, I really can do more. And so we bump it up a little bit, but then as soon as we get to a point, we're like, ow, that actually takes some faith from me. Oh, that actually stretches me. Then we back it down a little bit, and we want to live in that zone of I feel good about myself, but I'm not stressing myself. Are you with me? Like I don't feel bad, but I also don't feel uncomfortable. And we like to live in that zone because often our goal in giving is just to feel better about ourselves without having to stretch ourselves. That's our goal in giving. I don't feel good. I know that there's a need that I can meet. I know that I could participate in moving, in building beyond me, but it makes me feel uncomfortable. So what I want to do is I want to find that spot, that sweet spot, where it doesn't hurt in either direction. And can I tell you something today? Giving means growing. And growing means stretching. We know if you go to the gym that I cannot go and lift weights and not have it hurt me or stretch me and expect to grow. I have to lift weights to the point of failure. And when I'm at the point of failure, when I feel like my muscles are going to explode, that's when my muscles are growing. Can I tell you that generosity works the same way? You cannot go, if you're going to the gym and you're lifting weights and it's comfortable for you, you will never grow. If you're giving and it's comfortable for you, you will never grow. Giving is growing. I have a question for you. What would happen if you baked scalability into your generosity? What if you said, whatever I give, I'm going to give in a way that every opportunity I have to give, I'm going to take one step forward. I'm never going to arrive in generosity. If you've been attending church for a long time and you're like, man, I've been coming every single Sunday and I'm always here. Can I ask you, what if attending church progressed into you serving at church? What if you're like, it's not enough for me to just go to church and to sit in a chair and to occupy space. I actually want to participate in being a part of bringing the gospel of Jesus to other people. If you've been serving in a team for a long time, maybe it's an opportunity for you to progress and say, I'm going to build a room and I'm actually going to start leading. I'm going to build a room. I'm done serving meals. I'm going to build a room and I'm going to start leading. I know it's going to take more time from me. I know it's going to take more intentionality. I know there's going to be more weight on my shoulders, but I am discontent to stay where I am. What if you're in here and you're tithing this morning, and what if you looked at tithing like a floor instead of a ceiling? There's a lot of people, when we look at tithing as something that we can never get to, and then when we get to, we're like, okay, I made it, I'm done. I climbed Everest, I'm good. I don't need to climb anything ever again. What if you looked at it as a floor instead of a ceiling? Because when we look at people in the New Testament, most people in the New Testament did not give 10%. They averaged it out, and they believe that most people in the New Testament gave about 23%. So what if we looked at tithing as a floor and not a ceiling? What if we said, okay, I'm at this point where I'm giving 10%, but I know that God can stretch me beyond that? What if we came into Legacy Sunday and we knew that legacy offering was an opportunity for us to build a room? We say, I'm faithful in giving in all these other times, but today is a chance for me to move beyond meals and to start building a room. Can I ask you a question this morning? Where are you still serving meals where you could be building rooms? In what area of your life are you serving meals because serving meals is something that is easily manageable for me, but building a room is something that would stretch me? Can I tell you this morning, it's time to build the room. Somebody say build the room. The third lesson this morning is that we got to build expectantly. Somebody say expectantly. What I love about this woman is that she built a room and expected that it would be filled. She put food on a table and expected that it would be eaten. She had an expectation. Can I tell you that faith and generosity go hand in hand? She expected that there would be a use for the thing. Have you guys ever done something and had it not go the way that you anticipated? Anybody, you ever did something and you thought it would be better than it was? Anybody in here with bangs? You're like, this did not go the way that I... If you got bangs, I'm not coming after you. I'm just... Like anybody here, you ever try to do something nice for somebody else and it didn't work out the way that you thought it would? You're like, I tried to help you. I tried to give you advice. I tried to be there for you. And it didn't work out. It blew up in my face. Can I tell you that anytime you go to do anything for anybody, you have to have a little bit of faith that it's going to work out. You have to have a little bit of faith that even if it doesn't go the way that I wanted to, that God was still glorified, that I still did what I was supposed to do, that if I give money to the homeless person on the side of the street and I see them walk into the liquor store, at least I did the thing that God put in my spirit to do. I don't care what you do beyond that. Like God called me to do it. God put it on my heart, so I'm going to do it. And whatever else happens is fine. I'm going to give expectantly. Faith and generosity go hand in hand. The more generous you are, the greater your faith. The greater your faith, the more you're generous. Every time I give, my faith gets a little bit bigger. Every time my faith gets a little bit bigger, I'm a little bit bolder in how I give. Can I tell you something this morning? If you want to have bigger faith, you got to give bolder gifts. There's a lot of people in here, we pray, God, give me faith. God, give me bigger faith. God, I want to believe. God, I want to trust. Give bolder gifts. And I promise you, if you give more courageously, God will give you greater faith. You will arrive at deeper levels of faith. Why? Because I gave more than I thought that I could, and God showed up in ways that I thought that He couldn't, and God provided in ways that I never thought possible, and now my faith increased. But it took me putting my faith in God by putting a gift out there that was bolder than something that I thought was possible, doing something that looked reckless to everybody around me. When I told people I'm building a room for a stranger that he's not even a part of our family, everybody thought that I was crazy, but then I did, and God filled it, and now the child that I hold in my arms is a byproduct of me trusting God and living in an extravagant and bold and generous way. Can I tell you this morning that when we give expectantly, God shows up miraculously? Proverbs chapter 11, verses 24 says, the world of the generous gets larger and larger, and the world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller. That's a promise, church. That your world gets bigger when you're generous. Believe it. How many guys believe that this morning? My world gets bigger when I give. If you build a room, God will build your world. If you build a room, God will build your world. Somebody say, build the room. When I build the room, my world gets bigger. When I make space for the things of God, all of a sudden, the opportunities that are in my path, all of a sudden, the blessings that are in front of me, all of these things began to get bigger. The world of the generous gets larger and larger. It's funny, when I build a room, I lose less space for me, but I create more space for my world through the things of God. Can I tell you that when I built a room onto my house, I didn't realize that I'm building a room. I say I'm building a room for the man of God, but I'm actually building a room for my child. Are you with me? I don't have any kids. I have enough space in my house for me and my husband, but then I built a room for the man of God, and all of a sudden the room that I built for the man of God becomes the portal through which my miracle arrives. See, when you meet a need for someone else, you invite God to meet a need for you. When I meet a need for someone else, I invite God to meet a need for me. And there's a lot of us who are missing out on miracles in our life because we are just trying to get God to meet our needs, and we're not taking the opportunities that God puts in our path to meet needs for other people. And we don't take the opportunities that God puts in our path to meet needs for other people. We miss out on the needs that God can meet for us. And God says, you know how to meet your needs, I'm gonna let you do it. But if you let me use you to meet needs for someone else, I'll meet yours. Are you going to extend me an invitation? Thank you so much for hyping me up, lady. She gets me excited when I preach. The rest of y'all can just help her out a little bit. See, we spend so much time worrying about things that are outside of our control instead of building what we can and letting God build what we can't. So much time. How many guys, let's be perfectly honest, don't raise your hand. You spend hours of your week worrying about things that are completely outside of your control. You're worrying about your health. You're worrying about, you're worrying about those spots on your back you got to go to the dermatologist for. Like, you're worried about all these problems. You're worried about the bills. You're worried about all these things. We're worried about all these things that we have no control over. And we build what we can instead of letting God build what we can't. She built a room, and here's the amazing thing. God built her legacy. She had no control over the fact that they had no children. She had no control over the fertility issues that she was facing in her marriage, but what she did have control over was being able to bless the man of God that was coming into town. And when she chose to bless the man of God that was coming into town, God said, I'm going to step into the thing that you have no control over, and I'm going to provide for you in ways that you never could for yourself. Amen. The final lesson from this story is that if we build strategically, somebody say strategically. If we build increasingly, somebody say increasingly. And if we build expectantly, say expectantly. God will build miraculously. Somebody say miraculously. You know what's the crazy thing is that God gives her the son, and that would be miracle enough if that was the end of the story, but that's not where the story ends. It would be a beautiful end of this story if that's where we stopped it, but we actually find out if we read on in 2 Kings, there's this really dramatic scenario of her son getting sick and dying. Wait a minute, God, the blessing that you just gave me, the thing that I've been waiting for, you finally gave me a breakthrough, and then you took away the thing that I've been praying for? What is that, God? You ever been in that situation before in your life where you received a blessing and then all of a sudden the thing that was a blessing was taken away and you felt like God robbed you? You felt like you got shorthanded? But this woman, she doesn't lose faith. Why? Because she's already given generously. And she knows that everything that I have, I give to God, and everything that I have, God has given to me. And God gave me a child even though I was not able to have one. And God didn't give me what he gave me just to take it away. And the same God that gave it to me is the same God that can give it back to me. And the Bible says that she very calmly carried this child up and laid it in Elijah's room. And I believe that that was not by accident. I believe that that was her being prophetic. I believe that that was her way of signaling to God, hey, God, remember when I built this room for you? Remember when I created this space in my house for you? Remember when I did this and you rewarded me? God, I'm putting my child in the room that I built for you to remind you and to remind me that I made space for you and you did a miracle the first time. So I'm bringing him back to the place that you moved the first time. I'm bringing him back to the place that you gave him to me. I'm bringing him back to the place where you first told me that a miracle was coming, and I'm putting him here to remind myself that the God that did it then is going to do it again. And then she went out and found the man of God and brought him back. When Elijah arrived, verse 32, it says, when Elijah arrived, the child was indeed dead, laying there on the prophet's bed. And he went in alone and shut the door behind him, and he prayed to the Lord. Then he laid down on the child's body, putting his mouth on the child's mouth, his eyes on the child's eyes, his hands on the child's hands, and he stretched out on him, and the child's body began to grow warm. The Bible doesn't tell this, but I like to think that this is a foreshadowing of Jesus on the cross. The position that he stretched out in is the same position as Jesus on the cross, and Jesus laid on that cross, and he gave his life for ours. And I think that symbolically Elijah's laying him and saying, God, whatever life I got in me, I want you to pass it on into him. And the child's body began to grow warm. And Elijah got up, walked around back and forth across the room, and then stretched himself out on the child again. And this time the boy sneezed 7 times, and he opened his eyes. And Elijah summoned Gehazi, call the child's mother, he said. And when she came in, Elijah said, here, take your son. I'm done with him. And she fell down at his feet and bowed before him, overwhelmed with gratitude. And she took her son in her arms and carried him downstairs. Can I tell you, when you build beyond yourself, you establish room for the miraculous. When you build a room for God, you might just be building a room for your miracle. When you create space for God to show up, you might just be inviting God into that space. And if God did it for you before, God can do it again. And it all starts with us trusting God and being generous. Can I tell you something this morning? If you're believing God to show up, you got to start by being generous. If you need God to give you faith, you got to give bolder gifts. Will you create space for God to move? If you put something out for God to bless, can I tell you that God will bless it and God will return it? But you've got to build the room. Somebody say build the room in this room this morning. You got to build the room. That's what we're doing as a church. It is a value for us to build the room. We don't just want to talk about generosity. We don't want to leave it to somebody else. We want to participate in it. So I want to show you guys really briefly a short video of some of the ways that we as a church, that you as a part of this church have been generous and helped make a difference and build beyond yourself. Turn your eyes up to the screen for just a minute.
Hey Momentum Church, I'm Rob, and this is Kate, and we're starting Free City Church in New Braunfels, Texas this coming January. And a few months back, you guys gave us some money to help us get our church plan off the ground, and we just wanted to tell you that we're so grateful for your generosity.
Yeah, we've started building our launch team, we've started doing community outreach events, and we are already seeing people find Jesus, find hope, turn their families towards following Jesus, and finally connecting to a local church, and your generosity has played a huge impact in that.
We just wanted to tell you that your generosity is helping build beyond yourselves.
Yeah.
It's helping build beyond Sugar Land, Texas. It's helping build beyond the walls of Momentum Church. And every salvation, every person that we reach for Jesus, you guys play a part in it because of your generosity. And so we just wanted to tell you thank you for that generosity.
Hi Momentum, I'm Christina, Julia's mom.
Leo, Julia's dad.
We just wanted to say thank you so much for the check that we received last week. It was a huge blessing and a relief to us right now. It's been pretty overwhelming and finances have gotten a little stressful for us. Just got to the point where we told God we really can't even deal with the logistics right now or budgeting for it, just because we wanted to focus on Julia's health and her getting better. So the fact that we received the check for $3,000 was a huge relief to us, because that's actually our deductible out of pocket for the upcoming year. So it was just amazing that God was able to do that for us through y'all, so that we have that relief right now.
It's a true blessing. So
Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, this is Caroline with the Baraka Children's Choir in Uganda. Thank you very much, Pastor Daniel and everyone at Momentum Church for hosting us, and we appreciate your generosity.
Thank you so greatly for going beyond yourself. Every dollar, every donation, all the prayers and the support is making a big difference in the lives of those we serve. Because of your support, we are able to take people through school, we are able to provide medical care and feed those that need a plate of food. Again, thank you for going beyond yourselves.
We love you all. God bless you.
Hope will bloom where we once knew. Dreams will rise from what we felt. Let my days be legacy. Build beyond me. Build
Every time you give, you're creating room for God to move. Every time you came on a Sunday and you put money into a basket, you had no idea where it was going. Can I tell you that it's going to make a difference? That we've been able to give, even so far this year, $35,000 to all these causes that we listed. And we're just a baby church just getting started, but already we're making a difference. We have Julia's family. Julia is with us this morning, sitting in the back seat. We're so thankful to have her with us this morning. Keep praying for her and all that God's doing. We're believing that God is going to completely heal her of cancer. In fact, let's just pray for her really quick. God, we thank you so much that Julia is with us this morning. God, we just speak healing over her body, God. God, we ask you to heal her of cancer, God. It has no place in her any longer, God. We're believing for a miracle, God. The same way that Elijah stretched out on this young child and life came back into his body, God. I believe that life is coming back into hers, God. I believe that warmth is coming back into her body, God. God, I believe that she's going to sneeze 7 times, God, that she's going to be well, God, that her parents are going to pick her up, God, and take her back home, God, and everything is going to be restored as it should be, that she's going to be able to run and laugh and play again, God. Thank you for the miracles you've done in her, God, how you've taken care of her so far, and God, we believe that you're going to take her the rest of the way in Jesus' name. Can I tell you that God wants to use you as a church to make a difference in other people's lives, in other people's stories, that when you give, you create space for God to move. In less than 2 years as a church, we have had 2,300 people, individual, unique people walk through the doors of our church. We've had over 1,300 salvations. We've had hundreds upon hundreds of children who have been taught about Jesus. We've had hundreds of baptisms, and we've sowed, since we've opened the doors of our church until today, we've sown more than $60,000 into missions. We've helped plant dozens of churches. We've helped families with rent. We've helped needy families in our community. We've helped international missions. In first service, we had a single mom that came this morning. Single mom that came. They don't have a car. She's struggling to make ends meet with her family. And we as a church were able to pay her rent for the month of December to give them some breathing room for the holidays. That happened in first service. She's sitting in here, tears streaming down her face because a need was met. In second service, I was talking last night with a pastor who they planted a church just a year ago. The church has struggled to get off the ground. It's not doing super well. They had to move the church out of the building that they were meeting. They moved it into his house. His family is struggling financially. So in second service, we wrote a check for them to help them with their rent for the month of December, because I believe that God is going to use us to make a difference in other people's lives. But it starts when we say that generosity is our legacy, and we need to build beyond ourselves, because generosity connects heaven to earth. When I give, I make earth a part of heaven. In Sugar Land as it is in heaven. In Houston as it is in heaven, in Texas as it is in heaven, on earth as it is in heaven. And that starts when we're generous. You know, in John chapter 14, verses 2, Jesus said, "In my Father's house there are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you, but I am going away to make a place for you." Can I tell you that one day all of this is going to be gone, and we're going to be standing in a room that Jesus prepared in advance for us. So I don't know about you, but if he goes ahead of me in advance to prepare a room for me in eternity, I want to spend the time that I have right now to build a room for him, because I am built to build. It's not for somebody else. This is for me. We are built to build, so it's time to buy a brick, church. It's time to participate in that legacy. Somebody say, build the room. So me and my family, we came prepared this morning. We wrote out a check and we're gonna give. And we're the pastors of the church here. We could say, oh, this is for someone else. I already give my time, but we're gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead of you. I'm gonna go before you. I can't ask you to do something I'm not willing to do myself, so my family is going to. The church has already made decisions. In both services, we gave generously to meet needs in our community. Last week, we gave money to Julia's family to help them with their deductible for her cancer treatment. All of this stuff that we have done is all in an effort to create a space for God to do miracles. And I believe that when we do, lives get changed. I believe that when we do, stories are rewritten. If we make a decision to say, I'm gonna build beyond myself because I am built to build. And it's time for me to build this room. So we're gonna come into a time of giving this morning. We're gonna do service slightly different than we do normally. Today, it's all about this act of generosity. It's all about this act of giving. And I wanna read something that I prepared for you, but as I do, there's gonna be a QR code up on the screen behind me. And when you scan that QR code, it's an opportunity for you to give. But I wrote this down early this morning as I was thinking about legacy offering. And I wanted to share it with you. Every time that God has moved in history, he started with people willing to build something that didn't exist yet. People who didn't just live for today, but believed that their obedience could shape tomorrow. People who saw the goodness of God in their own lives and said, let's make room for him to do it again in someone else's. What we give our lives to builds something. Some people build comfort. Some people build security. Other people build achievements. But the people that God uses, they build impact. They build rooms that God can fill, futures that God can breathe on, stories that God can enter and redeem. And the beautiful thing is this: every time someone in Scripture built space for God, God filled it with more than they ever imagined. God filled it with more purpose, more provision, more life, more legacy. That's what generosity does. It takes what's in our hands and it turns it into something that only God can multiply. It takes our faith and it turns it into someone else's miracle. It takes the temporary and connects it to the eternal. And today isn't about money, it's about making space. It's about creating a room for God to move in ways that we haven't even dreamed of yet. It's about saying, God, use what I bring to build something that will outlive me. So Momentum, God is building something here that is bigger than any one of us. He's writing stories that we haven't heard yet. He's preparing people that we haven't met yet. He's planting seeds that will grow long after we're gone. And legacy isn't about what we keep, it's about what we release. So today, it's time for you to bring your highest and best, not out of pressure, not out of guilt, but out of gratitude, out of faith, and out of holy expectation. Let's build a room that God can fill. Let's build a house that gives life to generations, and let's build beyond us. This is our legacy offering, so let's do it with joy, with courage, and with vision for everything that God is about to do.